Welcome to Unite Planet. Today I'm joined by Donna Holmes.
Hi.
Hello. Today we're going to discuss about why she's on Unite Planet and also her backgrounds and also a bit about tribal, synchronicity, quite a lot of different topics we'll cover today. And so, Donna, do you want to start a little bit of your background and why you got onto Unite Planet?
Yeah. Well, a few years ago, I'd say about 3.5, 4 years ago now, I experienced a spiritual awakening.
Mm-hmm.
The way it all happened was my son had a psychotic episode, but before he had his psychotic break, he started experiencing strange experiences. Because I'm not from a spiritual background, a religious background, and if anybody had tried to talk to me about any of those things, it would have gone straight over my head. It didn't, you know what I mean? It wasn't
relating to you at all.
Nothing that I was interested in, really.
Mm-hmm.
So then my son starts trying to explain all these different concepts to me, because he was going through his own journey at the time before we realised what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So he was trying to sort of express his experience and what was happening for him to me. Me and the whole family pretty much thought he was going crazy.
Right, okay, right.
So sort of this went on for like 1.5 years. He was trying, and he was sort of like progressively getting. It was the journey was getting more difficult. He was having more and more experiences. He was seeming more and more crazy.
Right.
But all the way through it, obviously I'm his mom, so I would listen to him. I wanted to understand him, but I didn't understand anything that he was telling me. Not anything.
Okay.
None of it made sense.
Yeah.
And it was quite worrying at the time. But then sort of like 1.5 years down the line, I remember I was just sort of stood on my back door, having a fag.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, bam, something hit me, and it was almost like 1,000 light bulbs went off in my head all in one go. It was like ding, 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 ding. And I had this crazy rush of energy that ran through me. And in that moment, all the things that Josh had been trying to tell me, I understood.
Right.
So it was like, just in that moment, I was like, oh, wow. So if my son's crazy, now I'm understanding all the things that must mean I'm crazy.
Right.
So is my son really crazy? So it was quite strange, and it was, the whole experience, that very first experience, I was filled with so much love. I just remember feeling so much love. It brought me to tears, and I was just literally stood on my back doorstep, crying and like not understanding what was going on, but I was just crying. And then my partner at the time, he was in the kitchen, and I turned around, and of course I'm crying, and he was like, what's the matter? And I'm like, nothing. I feel amazing. These are not tears of sadness, these are tears of joy. And of course he just gave me this. I tried to explain to him what had happened, and that I was understanding all the things that Josh had been trying to explain to me now made sense. But trying to explain to him, he didn't really know what to do with it, really. And I remember having this overwhelming feeling, because me and my partner at the time, we'd been through a lot of things. And I remember at the time I had this overwhelming feeling to just tell him that I forgive him. Even though from all the things in the past, even though we thought we'd moved on from them, I thought I'd forgiven him. Obviously I hadn't. I was still holding on to some things. And I just turned around and I told him that I forgave him. And I literally felt, you know how people talk about forgiving people? I actually felt this, well, I don't know, all this rubbish leave me. I literally felt lighter when I said it. And of course, when I said it to him, I can remember looking at him and his eyes changed colour. They shone the most brightest purple for just a second. And I was like, oh, okay. And I told him, and looking back on it now, I can understand why he was looking at me as if I'm mad now. I can kind of understand, because it was my experience. He wasn't experienced at anything, and he didn't understand what was happening to me. And all of a sudden I was in front of him crying, trying to explain what was going on and telling him I forgive him. I'm telling him his eyes are changing colour, so he's looking at me as if I'm some crazy woman. Right. But sort of later on I understood that when his eyes changed, because that was just like his soul, or whatever you want to call it, recognised. So he wasn't recognising what was going on, but his soul
did, yeah.
And it was like a little sign for me to let me know that his soul had recognised that I'm... that was the very first experience, but it was quite an intense one. And then after that, I was on a high for about a week after that. Everything was like, all my senses were heightened. It's like I would go outside and drive in the car, the grass would seem greener, the sky would just seem bluer, everything just seemed more intense, food would taste better. I remember Jack, he'd passed me a pear, and he'd got one for himself, and he was like, "Here, Mum," and I was like, "No, I'm all right, thank you." And he was quite adamant that I had this pear. I'm like, "No, I'm good." He was like, but he persisted, so I was like, "Hey, I'll eat this pear." And I remember biting into this pear, and I've never tasted anything like it. It's so hard to explain. It was gorgeous. Right, okay. It tasted just sublime. Right. And I was like, wow. It was so bizarre. My partner was in the bath at the time. I actually went up to the bathroom and I made him have a bite. Okay, yeah. And he was like, nice. Looking at me a bit crazy again. I was like, oh my God, it tastes gorgeous. So I felt like my senses were really heightened for about a week. Everything just seemed more. More that was and I just felt full of energy. Like more love. I just felt more loving and everything. Okay. And then I think my next experience, because obviously after that experience, it made me look into things a lot more, like what's actually happening. You know, if this has happened with Josh first, and now I'm experiencing things and understanding things differently. So I did start to look into spiritual signs of it's like signs of awakening and things, and it all sort of fitted in with Josh's experience, all the things that he did, and it all started to make sort of sense. And then things just kind of led off from there, really. That was it. My journey began, and I had many more experiences from then.
So something just like triggered and made you more open to more different things, to different things. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So obviously, my initial awakening was more of on the spiritual level. But then I remember I was watching. I was just laid in bed watching TV, and the news was on. And I think it was something about Russia. I can't remember exactly. It's, just down and out, depressing news. And I remember it was strange because it's almost like I could see through the rubbish. Everything that they were saying on the telly all of a sudden didn't make sense anymore. It's like I could see through the lie. Right. And this created another surge of energy. And I remember jumping up off the bed, and I was like, Jamie, my partner at the time, was like, I'm like, they're lying to us. But it was so clear to me, it was quite strange. I was like, they're lying to us. I'm like, it was so bizarre. So that sort of set me off on this, finding out what's going on in our physical reality, all the all the stuff that the government's going on. So all the conspiracy sort of theories. So that led me down that path. And I started finding out all the things that are going on. That path sort of, it's like a rabbit hole. You just get sucked into all these new...
Deeper and deeper.
Yeah, but I was going deeper and deeper and deeper, and it was getting darker and darker. And for quite a while, I remember for quite a while, I kind of felt like I hated the world. Because it was quite sickening to me to find out the suffering that was going on. I knew, obviously, you know these things are happening, but I didn't realise the depths of what they went. And I just felt useless. It's like, well,
what can I do?
I've got all this information. What can just me? You know what I mean? What can I even do to? There's nothing I can do. So I've had all this information, but there's nothing I could do. So it kind of made me feel useless, and I kind of felt left feeling like I hated the world. I remember my boy used to say to me on a daily basis, "You still hating the world, Mum?" I'm like, a little bit, yeah. I went through quite a depressed time. I was crying a lot. And I felt like I could feel more. I can feel it now, just talking about it. Like I could feel suffering more, like as if I've been opened up to it. So that was another phase that I sort of went through, but I did eventually come out of that, and then I did sort of start to perceive that whole side of things differently. So that lifted me out of the... And then I realised, I decided I was sort of going down these rabbit holes, finding out all this information, and then one day it was just like, okay, stop. Something inside just said, you don't need to keep going down that rabbit hole no more. You know what you know, and you needed to find that out. Because it's a part of the journey. But you don't need to keep going down. You're aware of it now. And that's that. And it was time to shift the focus off of all that and back to myself.
Okay, got you.
And then obviously on the more the spiritual, my own self growth, which because I think it was disempowering me. All this information it was depressing. So it was time to sort of like get myself empowered again and start focusing on me. And then obviously I started making changes within me. And over time, I got a new perception of all that stuff that put that into a better perspective for me, and a new understanding of why all that horrible stuff was happening and what it was trying to achieve. So so that was fine. So I came out of that, but I know a lot of people can get stuck there. So and it's just been a crazy journey. But the thing, I remember my son, the one that's in hospital, because he's actually still in hospital now. He's been out and he's gone back in again. But I remember him saying to me at one point, quite early on, that him and my partner at the time had agreed to come here to wake me up because I was in such a deep sleep. And I was like, okay, that's quite hard. But looking sort of further down in my journey, and I look back, and they are the two people that woke me up. They are the two people that woke me up through pain and through other things, but they literally jolted me awake. So
like a soul,
quite interesting.
Like a soul agreement.
That's what he said to me, and I didn't understand it when he said it. He says, we both came here and we agreed to come and wake you up because you was in such a deep sleep that you wasn't waking up. And then further down the line, when I actually look back on my journey, it was those two people that literally jolted me awake. So there's things that is said that don't leave me.
Absolutely. No, I can connect with that, definitely. I think we do definitely have soul agreements with people. I believe that my wife, we've known each other before in previous lives, so I can understand that completely.
Definitely. So then, but it's still, like I said, that like we're going to talk about meeting, like finding your tribe type thing. So initially in my journey, it felt magical to me. There was all this whole new way of being, all this information that felt like it had been hidden from us, kept away from us. It was magical. It was like looking back, it's like life seemed quite dull before my awakening, but that was all I knew. So after my awakening, I realised how dull and grey it actually was. So the whole spiritual, although I'm not saying it's an easy journey, because there's a lot of things you have to face about yourself. But it brings magic to your life, and it's like, it brings more meaning to your life. And you want to share these experiences, and you want other people to feel what you're feeling, because I had sort of heart-opening experiences. I didn't understand it at the time, but there was one, I was just laid on my bed, and I felt, it almost felt like I felt my heart cracking open, when my whole body was surrounded by, I could feel the vibrating, pulsing energy around me, and I remember just curling up into like a cocoon shape, on my bed, and it was just I felt like I could just stay forever. It was the most beautiful feeling, and I just felt like I was being hugged from the inside out by love, just by pure love. And later on, I realised that people call that a heart opening, because after that experience, I was super sensitive. So like, I remember driving in my car, and I saw a child and a mum waiting at the lights, and the child looked like he had Down syndrome or something like that, and she was making him laugh. Now this made me cry.
Okay, right, yeah.
That's how sensitive I was. Just to see a mother and a child, and she were making him giggle.
The connection.
It just made me cry. I was like, oh, that's beautiful. So I was super, super sensitive to everything, which eventually I got used to. So it's like opening you up to be more empathetic, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think a lot of our hearts have hardened up now.
I agree.
So yeah, there's many, but yeah, like I said, I felt alone. I knew there was other people out there that was experiencing things that I was experiencing. But like I said, they was all online and in all these other parts of the world. But in my sort of day-to-day life, there was nobody that I could really express. When I did try to express to them in the beginning what was going on, I felt like I was looked like I'm crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, because obviously I could see why. In the beginning, I didn't see why they weren't listening to me. Why aren't they getting this? Why are they not listening? I can see now that passion that came through me would make me seem crazy to someone that's not experiencing. Their life hasn't changed. Their life is still the same. It's my life that's changing. I'm the one that's having the experiences. So I kind of learned to just... I couldn't express it to them, so I kind of had to just go through it on my own for a sort of period of time. But I know a lot of people do lose family, they lose friends, because they just don't resonate with them no more, and they can't, because the perception shifts so much, they can't have the normal conversations that they would, or go like just the normal things that they would enjoy doing with their friends. They just don't seem to get no pleasure from that no more. They don't enjoy it no more. So people don't stop resonating with you. So yeah, it can be quite a lonely experience. But then I met Johnny.
Johnny from Your Planet.
Yeah. So, but that was sort of synchronistic, the way that happened. But by this point, my relationship had broken down. But even that, I had experiences and moments of clarity where I seen the relationship for what it really was. So you see past the surface of things, and I saw why things had happened, the way that happened. So I wasn't angry, although I was hurt. I wasn't angry, and I didn't hold no bitterness. So yeah, my relationship broke down, and I think I was quite lucky, because I have got some old friends that knew me before all this. So, and they knew me for years, and they have stood by me. Even though when I try to explain to them, I can see in their eyes, I can tell them so much, but then they'll start to
glaze over a little bit, and
so I pull back. But it has actually helped a couple of my friends out, when there's certain things I've been able to tell them, and so it's been beneficial.
That's good.
Even though they don't understand it all, it's still been quite beneficial for some of them. So so I've been quite lucky where I have got old friends that knew me before all this happened. So they know me, and I can still I can still go see them, and it's fine. I don't have to go into all this.
No.
Yeah, so that's fine. But not everyone is that lucky. Some people can lose quite a lot of people in their lives. So yeah, it can be a lonely experience in the beginning. But then, like I said, I'd accidentally sat on my phone one day, and Johnny's profile had come up.
Okay.
So it was quite,
That's
so I picked my
yeah.
phone up, and there's Johnny, and there was, I just got this feeling to look into his profile, because I was like, hey, why has this come up on my phone?
Yeah, of course.
And then there was this really long paragraph that he'd written, and it was really well written, but it was everything that
resonated with
how
you.
we're all one consciousness, and it was just like, wow, that's exactly what I feel.
Yeah.
So it was like, wow, I've just sat on my phone, and this man has come up on my phone that I've never met, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I got this feeling that I should message him. I did think, oh, should I message him? That's a bit strange, isn't it? But I thought, no, so I could have not listened to that, but I chose to listen to it, and I messaged him. Then we became friends. So that sort of opened that door. And then obviously we went out a few times and got to know each other. We had a lot in common when it comes to just the whole spiritual.
The journey.
The whole journey. Yeah. So then he asked me if I wanted to join Unite Planet, and initially I was like, I think this is just my fear. The whole point of being on camera, talking to people about your experiences.
I don't like it either.
Slowly getting used to it. Slowly.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then obviously your channel was, when I looked at your channel, there was a lot of stuff on conspiracies and things. And to me, I felt like I've already been down that road.
Yeah.
And it's not where my focus is anymore. I get it, and I think it's a part. I think if you wake up spiritually, everyone's awakenings are different. Some people wake up spiritually first, like I did, but then that leads you to the conspiracy world and all the things that are happening behind the scenes within our governments and the systems.
Yeah.
But then some people will go down the conspiracy world first. Things like 9/11, that woke a lot of people up.
Yeah.
That sort of triggered things for a lot of people, I think.
Absolutely.
Which eventually should lead them to more spiritual knowledge. So it doesn't matter where you come from.
Yeah.
You eventually there's a lot of traps within both. Yeah.
Absolutely, there are. Yeah.
So I forgot where I was. So I was a bit worried about joining the channel, because obviously it was conspiracy based and things. But then Johnny did say, well, this is why we want you to join, because you're more spiritual, and we want more of that sort of content on our channel.
Yeah.
And then I watched his, I can't remember what it's called, the little,
We Are One.
That one, We Are One, and then that sealed it for me. I thought okay. So I accepted and I joined. It was the best thing I ever did.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah. So my tribe came to me. All I had to do was go with my intuition. Johnny popping up on my phone by accident.
Yeah.
I could have just ignored it. I could have just.
But you got feeling said,
because I listened, because I was already on my spiritual journey and already understanding how to learn to listen to my intuition, which has always been quite strong anyway, but I never really realised why, or I always kind of knew certain things but never connected it to no spiritual reason or anything. So I'd already started learning how to listen to myself and my intuition, so I went with that. And that opened up so many doors for me, because obviously I met you, Bernie, and then we're sort of Bernie, Johnny, Paul, you're great guys. So
and we've been doing so many things, haven't we, since then?
Well, exactly, and it just keeps opening up more and more doors.
More people.
And the whole tribe. So I classed you as my little tribe.
Exactly.
My little soul family.
Exactly.
Which is just getting bigger. You're together. We're doing things. interviewing some fantastic people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
we get to meet some great people.
Mhm.
And it just keeps more and more doors keep opening.
Yeah.
More and more friends that are like-minded.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 I mean, the tribal conscious gathering that we went to recently.
Oh, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's some amazing experiences there.
Yeah. And
yeah.
who did you meet there? Did you anyone that like Luigi?
Oh yeah, that's the first
Yeah.
time I met Luigi.
Yeah.
Who, great guy. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, I met Lou. Some great connections. A whole new load of Facebook friends.
Have you?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I had quite a funny experience at the end.
Okay.
Before I was going to come home.
Yeah.
Because everybody left before me, and I thought there was a closing ceremony that they did at the end. So I was all packed up, ready to go. I thought, you know what, I'm going to stay. I'm going to go to the closing ceremony, and then I'll get off. I'd gone to that, and then I'd gone to get back in my car, and I was sat in my car taking the view one more last time because it was stunning.
Mhm.
And I was thinking while I was sitting in my sat nav, I think, I don't want to go home yet.
Mhm.
I don't want to go home yet. And then I go and start my car up, and my car won't move. I'm like, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to move, press the accelerator, my car's not going nowhere, and it starts smoking. I'm like, oh my God, I'm stuck in Wales.
Yeah. It's not a bad thing.
No, well, it's not a bad thing, but
Yeah.
I've got responsibilities back this way.
Of course, yeah.
But the people there were great. They come up to me and they told me to reverse up. And as if by magic, there was a mechanic right there. So he was like, well, it could be a bad thing. He said, but he told me I'd overheated my clutch plate or something like this. And he said, just leave it for an hour to cool down and it should be just fine. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So one of the men there invited me to his tent. He said, come and have a cup of tea. And we got chatting about my son, Josh. And it turns out he had a load of information. And he gave me a load of advice. So we had sort of an hour conversation there, and I got some really good information out of him. So that alone was sort of worth all the hassle. And then, so I said my goodbyes. I went to go to my car, went to jump in my car, and there was one of the lads from the closing ceremony. I'd noticed him looking at me, and he'd give me like a little odd look, and I'm like, but I didn't think no more of it. Well, he appeared out the bush just as I was going to get in my car, and he said, "Are you all right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he says, "Can I just share something with you?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And he said he mentioned he'd seen me at the closing ceremony, but I was with people. And then he told me something personal about myself, and he said, if it doesn't make sense, it's all right. He said, "What if you don't understand what I'm telling you? Just go home and sit with it, and it'll come to you." But instantly, I was already welling up.
Right.
And I started crying, and I says, "I already know exactly what you've just said to me, and it was so perfect and so spot on." So that it was just like, wow. And he said, well, I just felt heavily guided. He says, obviously, you was with people at the closing ceremony, and this is, and then you re-manifested right in front of me on your own, and I felt heavily guided to come and tell you this. I'm like, well, thank you so much. So I gave him a hug, and I got in my car was fine, and it's been fine ever since.
Wow, that's synchronicity.
So it's almost like I was supposed to have those
moments.
Those two moments, and I'll cherish them forever.
Yeah.
So little things like that happen now on almost a daily basis.
Yeah. And it's just like, against synchronicities.
Yeah.
You know, like you actually sitting on the phone and Johnny's profile appears.
Yeah.
The lad comes and manifests himself.
Yeah.
It happens for reasons.
Yeah, it does. And if you just allow yourself to listen to that, allow yourself to be guided, isn't it? Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, definitely. It's really interesting.